ideal summer destination is the white sand beaches of Krakoa or the rust red dust storms of Morocco. Toss on some flip flops and settle in for Arakko Public Radio number 41, day 6 of Shark Girl Week 2023, our week long celebration of the X-Men and summer break. Today, we're talking about all the X-Men comics from the week of May 31st, 2023, as we continue the trudge towards the fall of X. Tenderly Papa Bear, this is the guy who would take a bullet for Princess, my one and only Omega Mutant Keegan. How's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty good. You got that right. I love Princess, so.
I gotta run something by you.
Yeah.
It was one of the handshakers at the 8th grade graduation. They don't call them graduations. The 8th grade promotion ceremony today. And so to be ready to sit down and chat with you, I had to stop and get a beverage for my throat.
Naturally.
So I bought the biggest cup Sonic had.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to look at the straw they gave me. Compare it to the size of the cup.
That don't math.
How is that supposed to work?
It doesn't work.
Like, I feel like a bird.
Yeah. Huh. You would think that they'd have a straw that's long enough for their back. Maybe they do, and the person didn't bring them the right straw.
That's true, because you don't go up to a counter. You're not at a window. It's they rollerblade out to you. So I don't know.
Exactly. Maybe they didn't come equipped for the right beverage.
I do like they call their biggest size, instead of just 44 ounce, call it Route 44 because they got the whole highway aesthetic. I thought that was cute.
Of course. That is nice.
In this episode, we are talking Deadpool number 7, Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain number 4, and X-23 Deadly Regenesis. So this was the 5th week. This feels like a 5th week.
It really, well, it feels like a 5th week in a month that was half 5th weeks.
Yeah. So I know we said we're going to bring you content every day. You might not get very much content today because I don't think there's much to say about any of those three.
Any content is better than no content.
That's true. You guys got a month of no content from us, so.
Hey.
You want to talk Deadpool?
Let's start with my favorite. Let's start Deadpool.
Deadpool's I genuinely love this issue.
Yeah.
Written by Alyssa Wong, drawn by Luigi Zagaria. It opens with a flashback to the Atelier meeting where Ravana and Last Bite drew the kill cards, while Valentine got charged with training the new auditionees, the new people auditioning for the Atelier. Before the story jumps back to the end of the last issue, Valentine and Wade are on their date at the planetarium when Last Bite and Ravana attack again, this time as a swarm of bats and a wolf creature. They escape to the lobby until Deadpool sees them drinking the cheer wine he brought for the date, and he decides, okay, we are actually fighting it out now. We're not just running away. I'm going to kill you. Meanwhile, Lady Deathstrike is walking Princess right outside the planetarium, waiting for her to poop. Deadpool has been needlessly texting her, reminding her that she won't sleep until she does. The planetarium has a large explosion, and Princess runs in, yelling, "Papa! Papa!" Valentine is revealed as the source because she's using the planetarium's exhibit as fuel for her flamethrower. Princess easily eats Last Bite, and Deadpool drops a model of the moon on Ravana. The NYPD show up and arrest Wade and Valentine, who get some great mugshots while they're staring lovingly into each other's eyes. Princess and Deathstrike break in to rescue them in their jail cells, and the Horned Emperor assigns Aster and Alquadon to take their turn trying to kill them, but he wants the dog alive. This date with Valentine is the best move for the second arc. Like the last 2 issues have been so damn much fun.
Absolutely, and it's like, I don't know, I really love seeing Deadpool just kind of like head over heels for them and like doing everything to make these
completely
dates with them,
genuinely
like, the
in
best.
love. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a lot different than like the cringy, just horny Deadpool that I'm so used to seeing.
Yep, he's horny, but in a sweet way this time.
Yeah, like I would dare to say wholesome, but like in a Deadpool wholesomeness.
Yeah, wholesome Deadpool. I think # wholesome Deadpool.
Absolutely.
I do want to throw out there, I learned today, maybe I had learned at one point and it left my brain. Alyssa Wong is non-binary also, the writer of the work. So I feel like I've definitely used the wrong pronouns at different points. So I'm going to train myself to use they when we talk about Alyssa Wong, because
I had no idea.
People deserve that. They deserve the pronouns they choose.
Absolutely.
Uh, Lady Deathstrike, though,
Yes.
100% the MVP of this book again. I just love her being a total sucker for both love and puppies at this point.
Yes. I really enjoyed the data page of like their text
Their text
exchange.
conversation.
And DP is like, "Do you want me to add you to the family photo account?" And she's like, "No."
No. Dot, dot, dot.
Yes.
Yes. So good.
Oh,
But
it
like
was like classic.
even the fact that they were still following, because they followed him the whole first half of the day in the last issue, and then the reason they were right outside the planetarium as she's walking Princess is because she's still trying to make sure the date goes well,
Mm-hmm.
and like she tags along to get them break them out of jail, even though she should still be on her like I'm gonna kill Deadpool streak. Like she's had no reason to turn around and become best buddies. Her brother is still in the atelier. Like
That's true.
there is zero motive for her to be all team Deadpool Valentine now, except for the fact that she believes in love and puppies. Lady Deathstrike is a softie.
And we love it. We love to see it. We really do.
I'm suspicious of Valentine though.
You think so?
It just seems to be coming way too easily for Wade, and it's a really sweet story. But I still kind of picture there's. I don't think for sure we're gonna have the rug pulled out from us, but I'm starting to be more suspicious of it the longer it goes, and it just seems too perfect of a situation.
That's fair. I could see that, especially with how pop culture referencey all of Deadpool's comics get. Too good to be true is definitely a trope.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening for sure. I mean, I would love for it to just remain good and be a thing.
I will be very upset if both Valentine and Princess have bad endings.
Yeah.
Like he needs happiness either with his giant carnage dog or the love of his life. He needs one or
Yes.
the other. You can't
Absolutely.
rip both from him.
You can't Peter Parker the guy.
Oh no. No Peter Parker in him. No one should be Peter Parker. Peter Parker doesn't deserve to be Peter Parker anymore.
No, and it's a damn shame that his name can be used as a verb for that.
Let's save some of this heat for around the Marvel universe later. Next issue, Ellie's back. We're gonna get the daughter.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see if there's interactions between the daughter and Valentine.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Valentine, some step parent energy would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I could see it too. I feel like Valentine has that in them.
Potentially.
Potentially.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm less suspicious of Valentine than you are.
Yeah. You think it's genuine?
I want to believe, you know?
I was just gonna say, is it you believe or you want to believe?
I think a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Okay.
I think I believe and I want to believe enough that I'm refusing to question it.
Fair. My one kind of, I don't know if pet peeves, my one downer, I don't care about any of the Atelier characters.
That's
Like
fair.
as they're introducing them, and then they do the data page. Like they had a data page that told us more about Ravana and what's the other one's name? Last Bite after they died. They're just generic Universal Monster like analogs to me. There's
Very true.
the Horned Emperor seems cool. I'm excited for like the final boss when he shows up and is involved. But
Yeah, I like the aesthetic of the Horned Emperor, so I want to see what that becomes.
like the fact that his way of presenting, but like literally burned out pictures, or it's a picture of Lady Deathstrike, Valentine, and Wade riding the dog, but to show that the dog was the survivor, the dog was like intact, and the other three had their faces burned off the picture. It's pretty cool. Cool
I like
aesthetic.
that. Absolutely. Okay, so this was bothering me. Maybe you will know. I don't think that you will, but I'm gonna ask you because I want to see. Maybe pitch it to the fans, the listeners. If you guys know, please enlighten us. So, saying that he was running out of Twilight references, but he'd been reading a lot of paranormal romance novels, so he's got references for that. And when Ravana had Wade pushed up against the wall, he said, "Now, if only there was a blue Jeep, that would be great." What is that a reference to? I have no idea.
I'll be honest. Remember, even the Twilight references went over my head at first. So.
And then, see, at first I was like, maybe it's a Twilight reference to when Edward saves Bella from the car, but that is indeed a maybe dark blue, but a black Chevy, not a Jeep. So I am
Getting deep into the Twilight lore. You and Owen might need to do a spin-off, like, I don't know, Twilight Public Radio. I don't know, what's the town? What's the town in Twilight?
Forks.
Forks Public Radio.
Anyway.
Also, that is what we call a dork trap. Dork.
Did you see the light leave my eyes because I knew the answer? Did you see that happen?
I did a little bit.
Anyway, since you don't know, and I'm not surprised that you don't, but I'm not sure, and I was curious if any of our listeners know, what is the blue Jeep reference in Deadpool 7 a reference to?
Blue Jeep. Is it when Ravana's around or when Last Bite?
Yeah, Ravana. I'm pretty sure it's Ravana. Ravana has Wade
Blue
pinned
Jeep
to the
werewolf.
wall.
Here we go. I'm Googling Blue Jeep werewolf. Teen Wolf Styles is Jeep. In the Teen Wolf series, Styles Stilinski drove a blue Jeep.
Okay,
I bet that's it. There you go.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's Teen Wolf. If a listener can tell us that we're wrong, that would be cool too. But hey,
it looks like the TV show, not the movie.
TV show Teen Wolf. Okay, well there we go. Asked and answered. Thanks, Google.
Hey, sometimes Google's helpful.
Sometimes.
I feel like I'm missing out not getting the romance references, but it's okay, because as soon as there's late 90s cartoons references, I'll get all of them.
We'll see, and that's what I'm thinking is the next series of villains coming after them is going to be different references, because it won't be a vampire and a werewolf anymore. So maybe
now it's making more sense. I had said, like, oh, Universal Horror, but it is all tying into the teen paranormal romance, like running jokes. So I get it a little more now that we're circling back to it.
Yeah.
Any hoozle, Betsy Braddock?
I guess.
Written by Teenie Howard, drawn by Vasco Georgiev. It opens with Betsy Braddock and Tony Stark fencing and flirting. She updates him on Morgan Le Fay's antics, with the Fury serving as her Captain Britain, and lays out a plan that needs the Avengers' help. He assumes she's thinking, like, evacuation. She refuses to hand over all of England. She wants the Avengers as bait. Rachel is meditating in a mystical library through projection and discusses a sacred timeline with an Exani librarian. The concept isn't elaborated on much, but it's clear Rachel is the key, as she is unique across the multiverse. There's only one her. The entire Braddock family prepare for and then go to a charity ball. Rachel points out the crowd loves Captain Britain, despite Betsy's doubts and the vocal haters. After they're confident they were seen by the cameras, Betsy and Rachel head off into the night. The Fury discovers Brian in his Captain Avalon costume in an open field and goes in for the kill, just to be stopped by the Avengers and Betsy, who helped tear it apart. It was Betsy disguised as Captain Avalon again. Jamie shows up to dispose of it in a pocket dimension before it can reassemble, but to the shock of no one, it's a betrayal! He restores Mongabel, and out stroll Dr. Doom and Morgan, the power couple who apparently are very open about the fact that they've been getting it on. Doom makes it clear that if she tries to kick Morgan out of the country, he will bring the might of Latveria down on her in Britain. So they all head back to the Braddock Manor, where they kind of put Jamie on timeout. Little Maggie leads a plotting session. They realize Morgan will have to cooperate with the land, which is, I guess, a euphemism for, like, has to live with the mythology, and for some reason that means she has to work with Captain Britain now and accept Betsy, even though the whole arc so far has been her trying to have an alternate for Betsy. So I don't know why they realize that now and why she's going to have to follow that rule now. But anyways, I'm getting off of my summary, sorry. Speaking of, this issue ends with Jamie confronting the Fury in the pocket dimension, revealing he knows that this one is from Earth 238, which means it's the original, which means they got beef.
This was a comic book that happened.
Okay. I feel like you could just go back and listen to our conversation with the second to last issue of Night of X, or if we had been doing a podcast yet, the second to last issue of Excalibur, and get exactly like my take on this being the penultimate issue of a Teeny Howard book about the other world and Avalon. Why were the first three issues so slow just for this to info dump way too much plot and introduce entirely new plot lines like the Axani librarian character? Like, I don't know if that was a separate character or if that was just a voice. I don't know what that was supposed to be. Why is that being introduced here? Now, with one issue left?
I have no clue. It's so frustrating. Like, the thing is I like a lot of Teeny Howard's writing.
Same.
Like, for the record, because I feel like with these miniseries, it doesn't come across like I like Teeny Howard. I like a lot of Teeny Howard's writing.
Teeny Howard is great.
It's just these miniseries, I don't know what it is. The pacing is a challenge, it seems like.
I wonder if we've speculated before, she's not being told ahead of time that it is a mini. It's getting turned into a mini when she's halfway through writing them. But it's happening too consistently to the point where it damages her reputation in the long term that she consistently has these stories that are paced like ongoings for a few issues, then immediately switch to these super rushed minis. And at this point, about the same characters.
Mm-hmm. Over and over again.
I don't know if you saw, in one of the X-Men Mondays, Jordan White has confirmed that they have no immediate plans for Betsy. The last issue of this run is the last we'll see of her for a while. So this isn't like Knights of X where it's like, oh, they'll just do another relaunch in 2 months. For probably at least a year. Like, you assume they plan out at least a year. We're just not going to see her for a while. Cool, because I think letting anybody, like any characters, have like time away gives like a chance for when they're brought back to be exciting or bold stories. But it means we should be seeing resolution right now, not new arcs.
Yeah, because on one hand, with some of these characters, give me a chance to miss you, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So give me a chance to miss having you around. But don't make your disappearance come out of nowhere and leave me hanging. We're not, I feel like we're getting the worst of both ends of it, Like, when Magneto does finally come back, I'm going to be so stoked because I miss Magneto. That kind of.
Was having Betsy Braddock and Quanon coexist in the Krakoan era a mistake? She's got a book in Fall of X.
I genuinely don't think so. I don't think it was a mistake.
I just feel like they haven't gotten any traction with Betsy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, part of that is their own doing because they keep retreading this. No one believes that she's Captain Britain now, when in story she's been Captain Britain for 2.5 years. So it's, you think people would embrace her more, or maybe they just didn't resolve their story enough.
Yeah,
because other than Fallen Angels, I don't think they've really coexisted at all. But...
Well, and I think that's what it comes down to, right? I don't think it's the fact that letting both of them coexist is the issue. I think it's the fact that they're not writing good enough stories for them to coexist. Because, like, I know it's not a 1-to-1 by any means, but we have 2 Lauras.
Yeah.
And I love that we have 2 Lauras right now. I think they could do more with it, yes, but I think that there's a lot of interesting potential there.
I feel like part of the Psylocke dilemma is to fully address Betsy's, I don't want to say sins, but yeah, I guess you would. That you'd have to kind of reopen the non-in-universe controversy of having a white woman become Asian.
You know what? That's a fair point.
So I feel like they can't have, like, I feel like they've been timid to have them have an outright confrontation because either they have to tread real lightly and actually have them address that aspect of it, or they have to ignore it and then risk fans being like, hey, how can you not address the fact that a white woman stole an Asian woman's body, essentially?
Right.
So I think maybe they've found it easier to just be like, oh, they had that short confrontation, and then now like they're just off doing their own thing. Krakoa's a big island; they don't have to interact, which is fine, but it makes it a lot easier to get invested in what Quanon is doing than what Betsy's doing, because you still kind of in the back of your head are like, Betsy should still at some point have to like pay for her crimes, essentially.
Yeah, I hadn't really. Yeah, that's a good point. It's just I don't know.
I mean, I like both. I want to like whatever Captain Britain's.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
I'm sorry, I just don't care about Captain Britain.
Y'all, it has been a week. We are at the very end. We have given you lots of really invested content. And it's been a long day. And you know what? This is a good week. This is a good list of books for us to just dick around with. So
absolutely.
Whoever original Captain Britain was.
Whoever. Benedict Britain, I don't give a shit.
Look, let's be honest. We're lucky his name was Brian and not like Twirly Whirly or Corn Pop or. So Owen was originally going to be our guest tonight,
and now it's a good thing that he's not.
We were going to do a little mini bag of picks within the episode, and dude decided he could sleep like a normal human being because it's like 4 a.m. his time. So
God, yeah.
So, God forbid.
God forbid. God forbid.
I was going to be eating Tootsie Rolls on camera to tease him. Okay. There was a joke I really liked.
Okay.
So they're at the like gala or whatever, the charity ball thing, and a reporter says, "What are the rumors about having another baby, Megan?" And that was like a meta joke because back during the first Hellfire Gala, they made like a point in two different. It was happened in Way of X and then happened again in I don't know what the other book was, but two different times at the gala, because you remember they were doing the gala as it played out in crossover form. They were showing scenes from different perspectives.
I really liked that, by the way. That was fun.
Oh, the gala is a great crossover. But she was refusing alcohol all the time, and like Nightcrawler was like, "Oh, that means she's pregnant. She's pregnant." And then they just dropped the plot completely, never brought it up again. It was Excalibur. Mm-hmm. Excalibur was the other book where we saw it because she was the main character.
She was in it, yeah.
Because that's something fans were always asking, so that was a nice joke.
That was good.
I know I already talked about the Oksani prophecy thing with Rachel, but I got another Rachel beef.
Yeah.
Why did none of the Avengers know? Like, why does she need to be introduced to the Avengers? Remember that time? Do you remember that time she beat Thor's ass? Like,
I mean, maybe because they needed a couple of panels that wasn't just pure exposition about plots that they're trying to wrap up as fast as possible.
Sorry, I'm still trying to drink with my tiny straw. Can we just ban Teenie Howard from minis? Just don't let her ever write another miniseries. Only put her on a book if you know she's getting 12 issues.
Yeah, I honestly I think that would be best. And again, like maybe there's some other thing going on that is causing these to not go the way that they think that they should go.
That could be.
But I think that would be a good thing.
Okay, before we fly along to X-23, Doom and Morgan are dirty dogs.
Yeah.
Doom just said, "Oh, we were too busy. We were too busy to pay attention to what you were doing. We were too busy."
Wink.
Cockadrunk Doom is just such a great move. It's so funny. I guess they're a cool like political pairing too. I feel like it's way too easy of rearranging of the board that literally all of the progress they made in Excalibur and Knights of X to kind of limit Morgan is all completely undone because I'll sick Latveria on you, and that's just enough that she gets to come home, and somehow the Braddock team just knows that she'll play ball with them. So all we have to do is let her think it's her idea. But the whole premise of this book was them not like her not wanting to work with Betsy, her going out of her way to recruit other Captain Britons, and that's just been abandoned. We're not dealing with the multiverse stuff at all anymore.
I guess. Why not? Why not just drop it?
That was what issue 1 established was the problem to be solved.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you thinking that a pre-Fall of X miniseries is supposed to go by what its name is? Bishop War College would like a word with you.
It doesn't even need to be the name, though. Betsy Braddock, like the first issue was built completely around them finding out that Morgan was going dimension hopping to recruit her own Captain Britain. Now she's living in our Britain and has to work with our Captain Britain, but we're still like the conflict's gone. There is no conflict now because they literally removed the conflict, but they're still like, we'll just make her think we're working with her on her terms. To what end? What is now Captain Britain's goal? Just to one up Morgan Le Fay? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I'm stabbing because I can't drink.
It's okay. Just put some ice in your mouth and let it melt.
It's slushy, so at least I'm getting some. But then I'm like getting a face full of it.
What flavor did you get?
Probably a terrible choice considering we're recording at 9 o'clock at night. But they had a new Red Bull Juneberry flavor, so I had to try it, and it's really good. Plus, I did not know this, and now I'm going to be going back there more often. If you buy a drink on their app, it's always half off.
Yes. Permanent happy hour.
Sonic, sponsor us.
I had a former student that told me to get the ocean water slush and have them pour Red Bull in it, and that it's phenomenal. It is.
Okay. Text me that because I won't remember it, but I will try that because it sounds yummy.
It's delicious.
Although, can you specify that in the app? I feel like it's too specific. I'd probably have to go for the drive-through.
Yeah, that might be a drive-through thing. I don't know. They worked there, so like I drove to their Sonic and was like, "Yo,
give me that thing."
Student name. Give me the thing you said.
Does that mean he hooked you up with it?
They did. Yeah, they hooked me up.
Nice.
Yeah, it was so nice. I also last year had a student that worked at Cane's, Chicken Fingers, Racing Cane's. Great year for me.
West Coast, we don't have many of them.
I mean, Arizona.
We got Popeyes and KFC. That's all we get for chicken.
Arizona's almost the West Coast. We're like a hick West Coast.
I just don't think they're in California, or maybe just not.
Maybe not as northern as you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done with Captain Britain.
Me too. I'm talking about chicken fingers at this point, so maybe we go to X-23, huh?
Not that I think this will last much longer, but written by Eric Schultz, drawn by Edgar Salazar. It starts in the present of this series, which is, of course, like a couple years ago, but follow me because there's two timelines that are both in our past, but there's the present, which is like, let's say 5 years ago, and then there's the past within the past that's, you'll figure it out. Kimura has X-23 captured and is like beating her up in an undisclosed location, which causes her to flash back again. First to Chimeria beating her ass in training, and then to the only person who's ever understood how anger fuels her, Logan. We see their first hug. They embrace. We see Laura cry a little, and then in the present, X-23 is in a cage, and Chimera phases her into her chest to like explore her musculature to see how much she's healed. But then the art clearly shows her hand going through her boob, so
that was weird.
Boob,
it was really weird.
Boob phase. Boob phase. They let her out with her hands locked, preventing her claws, and intending to put her back to work for them, but she's like, no, never. And so Kimura kind of insists X-23 doesn't have any friends. They're not going to come save you. No friends are going to save you. You only have missions. And they lead her through kind of their facility. Turns out they're going to manipulate her by playing on her empathy. So they show her that the facility is full of these college-age kids, like doing manual production line like jobs for them, mostly drug dealing stuff. And they're controlling them all because they're all desperately forced to work for their next hit of MGH, which they are addicted to the point where stopping would kill them. We also see that some of them receiving the doses is killing them. And Kimura makes it clear that if anything ever happens to her, they'll all die because she's the only one who can authorize them receiving the drugs. They then walk Laura down and introduce her to the retirement wing, where endless rows of either OD victims or victims who went too long between doses are all like comatose on these hospital beds on life support. This just finally is the last straw for Laura, so she lunges at Kimura, but Kimura shoots one dead, which causes Laura to like stop in her tracks, and she explains that it was all Laura's fault for disobeying. And back in her cell, they force her to watch as pictures of potential victims flash across the screen while an agent reads off their names to her. Finally, completely broken, she asks Kimura what the mission is. So, this was like a millimeter off from being just straight up torture porn.
Yeah, I mean, I would even hesitate to say that it was off from it. I feel like it practically just was.
Yeah. Like when I started the issue, I felt like, oh, this is finally growing on me because like, I liked the Logan thing. Like seeing that was neat, but we've seen X-23 for 15 plus years brought into her lowest plenty of times. I was going to say a dozen might be exaggerating, but we've seen her broken down to this point before. I don't know what value it brings to take a character who's in a much better place now, has found family, has found support, is happy on the island, and showing us, hey, you remember when this feels very much like Percy's unwillingness to leave behind the misery porn for Logan, but done for Laura.
Yeah, no, it very much feels like that. I can't get into it personally. I know it's growing on you. For me,
it grew on me until it turned to like the first few pages felt like it was growing on me.
Yeah.
No, I would never have anyone read this book. Like if someone said to me, "Hey, should I read?" Like I'm interested in X-23. How about that new book? Is that a good way to get into her? No.
Nope.
This is not the place to start.
No.
I would say, and this might be controversial with our audience because I know he's not the most popular writer, but Tom Taylor's All New Wolverine. This is where you go if you want to read Laura Kinney. This is the run where we see her meet Gabby and become like a big sister and come into her own. I mean, obviously, it's the first time she takes the Wolverine name. This is an amazing run. Everyone should have it. Everyone should read it.
There we go. Words from the man himself. And I'll co-sign it just because I love Tom Taylor.
There you go. He killed my boy Wally West in his first Titans issue, and I know it's not going to last, and it's probably one of those. Who fell this time? That's like the third episode this week where one of my figures just fell behind me.
Yeah.
Not to go off on a Titans tangent, but
we can. We got time.
Have you read it yet?
I have not. But it's okay because
it's basically a spin-off of his Nightwing book, and it's only got the one issue out, and it's very much an issue to establish who everyone on the team is. But he does kill Wally in that first issue. Like, that's the big final page thing. And Wally's got an ongoing comic, so clearly he's not really dead. And I have a feeling it's going to be that Wally was from the future, so we have to prevent that future from happening type of plot, but
Yeah.
either way, you move down my list of favorite authors when you kill Wally West. It's just a rule.
I mean, that's a fair statement to make. I can agree with that.
But back to X-23, Deadly Regenesis. This issue marked the halfway mark.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the pacing is... There's no way they're not going to walk themselves into a cliche, because you've got issue 4 is going to have to be... She starts to carry out the mission and the last minute decides not to, and then luckily her team shows up to save her, and then issue 5's her getting like her comeuppance on Chimera, I assume. It feels so paint by like it's a
Wow.
it's
You
a
mean a
Logan
flash?
story. It's a
Yeah.
paint by numbers Logan story with her instead.
Listen, it's a flashback book. It's not gonna be great.
Storm number 1 was okay.
So not great.
It has potential. It could be great by the end. We don't know.
Sure, but just not yet.
Just not
It's
yet.
it's the best of the pile of shit, but you know.
Do you have any more you want to say on X-23?
No, I don't.
Are you ready to go around the Marvel Universe then?
Very, very begrudgingly.
Hey.
Hey.
You wanted to be negative about X-23. You wanted
I
to be
didn't
negative
want
about...
to be.
I just mean you were
I
trying
was
to...
forced to be.
We tried to leave the... our conversations went negative around those. Compared to the book we're going to talk about in Around the Marvel Universe, those books were golden. Those were
This is
book of the
accurate.
year. Those were book of the year material
Absolutely.
compared to Amazing Spider-Man 26, which we have to talk
Boo!
about.
Hiss! Boo! Hiss!
We have to talk about not because of the content of the issue, but because of what it clearly is going to set up, and because we're taping this in the future. We actually know that it's all of the speculation about where they're headed is at least being hinted at in books that come out next week, because we're coming to you from the future. So, Amazing Spider-Man 26. Miss Marvel died. Kamala Khan. They built up that it was going to be the most important Spider-Man issue in 50 years. And everyone thought they were going to kill MJ, and instead they decided, you know what? We have this our most high-profile teenage character, our most high-profile teenage girl, our most high-profile Muslim character. So let's fridge her. And so in a book starring a character she kind of, sort of knew from working at the same company, instead of, the character with the same name who was one of her best friends, she died. And then in the memorial issue, he's front and center, not her. Oh, and then another one of the covers, they have a tribute to a very famous Christian statue to show the memorial, instead of honoring the character's religious and ethnic background. But anyways, in shoving her in the fridge, everyone said, "Oh, well, they definitely did that for MCU synergy. They definitely, killed this beloved character, probably among their top 2 or 3 characters of the last decade. Like, other than Miles Morales, who else was created in the last 10 years that had a higher prestige than Kamala Khan?" Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that's the list. You go Miles, and I would say he's only above her at this point because of Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, and like that elevated his status. And then Kamala Khan. Like, Kamala Khan was such a big deal. That G. Willow Wilson series is like pure perfection. It's such a great character in the Marvel Universe. And I get you kill characters, but they could have killed her in a way that did her justice, or
yeah, you can kill
built
characters
to it in any way. Built to it in any way at all.
Yeah, you don't kill her in not her book for a character that's barely related to her. But I mean, that's what happens when you have a book that's written by God's mistake, Zeb Wells, and art by God's mistake, John Romita Jr. Because it all sucked.
Look, if you follow me on Twitter or TikTok, you'll see the page where she died. the page she dies,
has the dumbest face in the world.
she still looks constipated. I have taken the stance, and I will still stand by it. John Romita Jr. cannot draw a human face that is not struggling to take a shit. Every face he draws looks constipated.
No, you are 100% right.
But anyways, they said they did it for MCU synergy. They're gonna use the Krakoan protocols to bring her back, and that's gonna somehow unlock her MCU power set, prove she's really been a mutant all along. Something along those lines is gonna happen. And then, like I said, in the future, we're gonna have something that pretty much confirms that that's the route they're going. And I get it. I get it in that I condone it, but I get it in that I understand that there's some Disney executive who's like, well, the movies make us $50 billion a year, and the comic books make us $500 million a year. So, no, we're not going to make the movies more like the comics. You're going to make the comics more like the movies. So you need to make this happen by the time the Marvels comes out. Is probably a version of the edict they got.
But they didn't.
There are ways to do it that aren't bullshit.
They didn't need to change her powers in the first place.
This is fair.
There's zero reason to change her powers.
I have a feeling, and I will be honest, I really liked the Miss Marvel series, but I also not quite Marvel burnout, but I definitely don't follow any of the like behind the scenes stuff. I don't follow a lot of that stuff anymore. I used to 5-10 years ago. So I don't know if they've talked about why they changed the power sets. I was always under the impression it was more of a like technical limitation that they thought the purple whatever crap they pulled looked better than the best like stretchies they could do. So that's why they changed them for the show. I don't actually know that. That's always been my just assumption that it was more of a CGI department, a design issue than some creative stance. But I don't really know.
But then you don't practice your stretchy CGI for when you have to animate Reed Richards?
This is a really good point. But Reed Richards is coming in the movies. Maybe like the budget, they figured they'd have the ability to make it work there. They didn't have the budget to make it work in the show. I don't know. I'm just saying that I don't, because you're totally right. There's no creative reason to sit there and say she can't stretch. Because stretching is badass. Stretching is a really cool power. We've seen it in the Fantastic Four movies. There's really cool shit you can do with it.
I like her in Big in Power. I think it's cool. I think it narratively and thematically and allegorically and all of these other things fits really well.
I completely agree. I would go so far as to say that original run by G. Willow Wilson of Kamala Khan, the Miss Marvel book that she wrote mid last decade, like that's probably almost 10 years old now. 2015ish, I think. In my top 5 of the last 10 years, I love that run. That is a fantastic, amazing book. Yes, comic book Kamala Khan had the perfect power set. There was no reason to change her for the MCU.
And now they have to assassinate the character in a Spider-Man book, but not a Miles Morales Spider-Man book, a Peter Parker Spider-Man book, the worst Peter Parker Spider-Man book that most people can even remember at this point. They have to assassinate her in that so they can fit with the change that they didn't need to make in the first place.
Yeah, no. For all the ranting I do about the Benjamin Percy books, Amazing Spider-Man is the worst comic book on the stands. I don't know if it's editorial's fault. I don't know if it's Zeb Wells' fault. I don't know if it's a combination of both. It has been aimless for this entire run, this now 26-issue long run. We've had to talk about it a lot for this podcast because of things like Dark Web, so we've been tied to it. I read every single issue, which I very much regret. And this death of Miss Marvel, the build to it, the reaction they had when it leaked a few weeks ago, because they initially tried pulling a, whoa, watch out, internet, there's spoilers out there, don't ruin the great surprise for yourself. And they got so much heat for it. Like 2 hours later, they revealed the fallen friend cover and were like, a great hero dies, and see how the Marvel Universe comes together. But then they showed, the cover they showed was Peter Parker front and center, like mourning, and the people around him were all Peter's friends. It wasn't Kamala Khan's friends. So it
Yeah.
just drilled home that fridging again, that it's about Peter's trauma, not about the life of Kamala Khan.
You know, and that's it. It's just, you know, to call it fallen friend. It's that awkward conversation. It's like, we're work friends. You know, we're not really
Right.
friends.
100%. Didn't have any of the champions on the cover. Didn't have Miles on the cover. You know, the Spider-Man she's worked with for
Right.
years. They had Logan Wolverine instead of Cyclops, her actual like mutant buddy. It was a totally tone deaf thing. They eventually revealed a variant cover that at least has the champions on it, but then they're all smiling on the. They're mishandling this every step of the way,
Yeah.
and the fact it's gonna probably tie into Krakoa just means we are going to have to be neck deep in it again, and we're gonna have to discuss it as it happens. But it needs to be very clear. I think this is the worst decision Marvel's made in decades.
Absolutely. I mean, look, after having to read all of that dark web after having to read all that dark web nonsense, and then this, it's just, I guess Zeb Wells is only good at bad decisions and making like character assassinating choices.
Except I really liked like he has written good stuff.
What? I don't win.
Did you not like Hellions? Okay. I thought Hellions was good. But yeah, this makes you really wonder how Marvel hasn't just retired Peter Parker. If this is the best they can do with their
Right.
most important character, is continue to come up with new. Again, I hate to keep referring to like torture porn or like this is misery porn. This is finding a new way to wring him through, make him as guilt ridden as possible. When they could be doing a Wally West. People would read a book where Peter Parker got to move on, build his life. He could be mentoring Miles Morales while raising a family with. I wouldn't care if it was Mary Jane, if it was Black. Like there are multiple love interests that would be fine, and let the man age, grow up. He could still do super heroics, but you can be happy in a superhero, and that is why. Again, to totally sidetrack from the X-Men, just ended this week. The Flash by Jeremy Adams was one of my favorite superhero runs of the last 20 years. It was done so well. It captured the ability for a hero to be happy. And Peter Parker is in that same position. He doesn't need to be down on his luck every step of the way. Eventually, you have to give a person a glimpse of happiness. And not just for a single issue before a new writer takes over and you immediately pull the rug out again, which is what we've seen every time a new volume starts. Is
right.
He finally pieces his shit together, and then it lasts till that issue ends, and then they.
Well, you know, the part of the thing that's so frustrating about it is like growing up as a teen, geeky, you know, not well liked by everybody, kind of down on his luck, that all that kind of stuff. Peter Parker is extremely relatable. You tend to see a lot of yourself in Peter Parker. The problem is, if you don't let Pete win, then why would we want to relate to Pete?
Yeah.
But for some reason, Marvel editorial just does not get that.
It's part of the reason Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse are probably my favorite superhero movies ever. Because you see versions of Peter that have won. That just get to go about and live their lives. And yeah, they still have conflict that comes up, but that doesn't get in the way of their ability to be happy. Or if it does, eventually that gets resolved. Like,
yeah,
that's the way it should work. Characters should be allowed to be happy.
I agree.
It is a crutch to only write characters who are suffering 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
It has a crutch. If you are a good storyteller, you can find that balance. You want to talk next week?
Let's talk next week.
Or tomorrow? The rest of Shark Girl Week?
Yes, the rest of Shark Girl Week.
The finale of Shark Girl Week. We are finally at the end, my friend. I don't want to say finally. We are at the end of Shark Girl Week, my friend. Next week, X-Men Before the Fall, Mutants First Strike #1, Bishop War College #5, Immortal X-Men #12, X-Men 23, probably around the Marvel Universe, Deadpool Batter Blood #1, and Invincible Iron Man #6, which is not X-Men related, but is Fall of X related. So if you haven't read it, you need to skim it. I will tell you, it's got your trio, the Dr. Stasis, Nimrod. I guess it doesn't actually have the trio. I don't think MODOK is in it, but you see those two. So you've got that same kind of Rocksteady Bebop energy that we talked about.
That's good. I like that.
The last X-Men issue. So I feel like Dugan is basically writing one story across all his books, which is what it is. As I said, at the very end of Shark Girl Week, we got one more day of it. And I think tomorrow's going to be kind of a blowout party. I'm very excited about what you're going to get tomorrow. But then it's over. And that also means we are going to be closing the drop on the shop of the current items. So if you want to celebrate Shark Girl Week into the future, make sure you go and you buy something before the end of the day, Saturday. We have our Discord. We're both on social media. I am that nerdy Papa Bear. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. Anything you want to say, my friend?
It has been quite the island party.
Yeah, party's not over yet. We're pulling an all-nighter. Until next time, remember, everybody sleeps better after a poop. All right.